Today's segments are about Olivia 8250 emergency comms. It's based on a QRP rig, the True SDX. It is really small. It's all contained in a little sandwich box. There's a couple of modules. First one is obviously the True SDX and its associated wires, which I'll explain in a minute. There's also a compute module. We've got to run the software to interface to the radio. Olivia 8250 is a digital mode. Very resilient. Very little power is required, so QRP is good. And when I say good, we used to have regular contacts to Ohio in the United States on 5 watts or less. So that will just show you the resilience, and that was on 40 meters. So essentially TrueSDX is a little micro SDR radio. It's powered by a little Adreno micro, as a matter of fact. I'm actually running it from a little LiPo battery. The LiPo battery is essentially a drone battery. It's got about 1500 milliamp high discharge, about 11.9 volts or something. It's under 12 volts, which is more than sufficient for the radio. I'm not going to go into the details of the operation, but essentially we operate on 7.0715 megahertz. It's a little bit off frequency here. Unfortunately, I don't have an antenna system where I'm filming. Otherwise, I would actually do a live demo. But I'll show you all the aspects of it, and up to the point of antenna hookup. So essentially we can just tune the radio on that. Very simple, just literally power it up and it's ready to go. One of the key things that's required is an audio interface to the Raspberry Pi, which runs the software. The audio interface cables are quite important. I've got a little ATU as well, because essentially I use a dipole antenna. We can just string it up anywhere, and you've got to tune it up. It could be resonant, but it's just easier just to have a bit of wire. And, if it's not right, we can use this little ATU unit. It's all battery operated, and yeah, it doesn't take much to tune it up. I might have a flat battery, I think, because you haven't been using it for a while. It just needs a little longer press, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, really nice little ATU unit. Works very well. So essentially we've got a little bit of wire. I can't really tune it at the moment because there's no load on it. It can't get any feedback to tune up. This is the compute module. It's actually a Raspberry Pi 4 giga version. It's doesn't run anything other than the FLDIGI, and I've set up the network on it to be an access point. So essentially when that's set up in the bush, so to speak, any device like a mobile phone can actually log on to it. It does not need a router. It is the main access point. So that's quite easy to set up. Now the Raspberry Pi, this cable that I'm using is actually an audio interface. It's got an audio card in it. It's quite an expensive cable. I got it at Bunnings. But essentially what it does, it just interfaces to the Raspberry Pi, and it is a sound card. So basically the sound card is actually going into the audio socket of the True SDX, and the mic key button or connector is the keyer effectively. So when we actually run FLDIGI, we can actually key up using that. So that's a little bit of a tricky bit that you've got to wire up. But other than that, it's all good. Now, I've got a little battery pack here. It's a 5-volt battery pack. I'm just demonstrating that the True SDX can run from either battery. The LiPo goes into the 12-volt socket, and if you're running it off 12 volts, you'll get the full 5 watts out of it. But if you're running it off of this power pack, it's actually powering it up from a 5-volt input effectively, and it'll still work, but you'll get about 1.5 watts out of it. So normally what I use that little LiPo pack to connect the Raspberry Pi and run it, but just for now I hooked up the Raspberry Pi well, you can't really see it, but I did hook it up to a battery later on. This is the boot screen of the Raspberry Pi. When it boots, I'm just going to go to the network here. The network, it'll just show you that at the moment it's running, and the TET TET is my network effectively. So if you were nearby, you could just literally log on, and on the log on I run VLC, and the VLC will give you this screen, effectively what you see. So this is Olivia, well, this is DigiRig, and DigiRig has an Olivia mode. It's got lots of digital modes. It's a really nice bit of software. So what I've got here, I've just fired it up. If I had that connected to an antenna, we'd be ready to go. So at the moment, I've got the cursor on the bottom part of the screen. With a mobile phone, for instance, you would just type your message, whatever you want, like CQ, DVK3TET, and transmit it. And it'll actually send that out. And then you just wait for a reply, and you can put it in a loop so it'll keep on transmitting it all the time until you get a reply. So this is just me typing the sort of message. That's it's as easy as that, and believe it or not, that's about as fast as the sort of one finger type. That's about as fast as the Olivia mode is. 8 to 50 signifies that it's 250 hertz wide, and it's 8 modulation tunnels effectively. It's quite resilient. It's amazing how far it goes for very little power, even under bad conditions. You can't really hear the signal at all. Like, you'd think that there's nothing on the band, and it just decodes it. So it's brilliant. So this is it, emergency communications. You've got various other Olivia modes here, but I've never used the other ones. I've used 8250, and there was a little group of us. We used to go on the net and communicate. I haven't got much time for that at the moment. But that's it. This is the emergency communications. Just think, little radio, little thing you can put in your pocket, a couple of batteries, a bit of wire, and we can talk right across the world with this. If another guy's got a similar setup on the other side of the world, we have two-way messaging system, which is very, very resilient to conditions, band conditions and so forth. So it'll get through no matter what. If you bump up the power a little bit more, you'll definitely get through. But on 5 watts, you can go a long way. This is my little compute module. It's actually a Lenovo little tablet, ChromeBook. So this is what I normally use to communicate with it. So that screen that you just saw before would be here. That's it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Olivia 8250 Emergency Comms.